Reedy Creek for the past 3 years has been in high flood. That means no one has been able to access the center of the creek, and that's why we have an infestation of gadzies here.
You can't get rid of me.
It's like, you know, antibiotic resistant syphilis. The gravel bar behind me is full of gadzies and some gold. For over 3 years, we've been locked out of the center of the creek because of the depth of water. We physically could not get in there in any meaningful way. And now that the water has dropped for the first time in all of those years, we're starting to find some really interesting and quite rich gold deposits. One of those little deposits is this gravel bar just here. We've got the river wash gravel here, and it's sitting right on that clay layer. Clay has always acted as a false bottom in any river system that carries gold. When Reedy Creek was flooding, the gravel, the bed load, was traveling over the top of the clay, and because the gold's so heavy and the clay has a static force that attracts gold to it, it literally covers itself in gold. So contrary to popular belief, Mr. Gadzi,
It's popular.
the gold on this gravel bar is not deep. We've dug test pits about 4 feet down and we got literally nothing. What? I'm going to come along with my pan, my shovel, and my classifier. I'm going to scoop up all of the surface dirt. I'm going to classify it down. We're going to put it in the Buddings bucket.
Sponsor us.
Already, Buddings.
There. No cheese.
Look, clear shot of your logo.
Come on.
We need buckets.
We'll blur it out if you don't sponsor us. People won't know.
And when that's full, I'm going to ladle it into my monstrosity of a rocker box down there, which has a really good capture rate.
Present for you, Chris.
A present?
A present.
Oh,
Got a snuffer bottle.
nice. That's more professional than that. Look at that. I've always done this. If you get a snuffer bottle and you put it next to your ear and then you blow into your ear gently, it sounds like a dog sniffing. That's what I'm getting out of one pan, which is not too bad. It'll add up pretty quick. Most of the gold is situated from about here up on the gravel bar. Down here, there still is a little bit, but not as much. Classifying buckets like this can be really time consuming, but if you've watched any of my most recent videos where I explain the process of reducing dirt, that's all you're doing in prospecting, is you're getting rid of everything but the gold. Classifying gets rid of more than 75% of the dirt that has no gold in it for me, so I process a lot less to get all of the gold. So it might be a tedious thing to do, but it actually makes you more efficient. And gold is all about how much dirt you can move. So the more concentrated you make your pay dirt, the more gold you're going to get at the end of the day. Because all of that has no gold in my area. It's just literally rocking. Sometimes a crystal if you're really lucky. Come with me, young apprentice. I will teach you the ways of our people.
Can you show me? Show me how to pan.
Gadzi. It's right there. He's a hard-working man, earning a hard-earned, thirst-quenching thirst.
We have got a bit of that clay there. What's the bet there's no gold in this?
Gadzi, if there is no gold in this, I'll be very sad. Is there?
Yeah, there's about 15.
What? Okay, they're good sized flakes, but I think you're too far out from the bank. Come in closer to the bank. I'm classifying down to 1/4 inch, so that bucket did not take long to fill. I'm going to assume this is going to be real heavy. Oh yeah! Ooh. I mean, it's so light. That's so manly. This is my homemade modified sluice box, and the whole concept of this came about because of a gentleman I met out here on Reedy Creek many years ago. We're going back about 7 years. where he just got out of prison and he'd stolen a street sign and he'd made himself a little homemade rocker box almost identically to this one, and it worked really well. So I wanted to imitate that because you don't need the world's best equipment to get gold. It can be really simple. As long as your methodology is correct, it will work. I have my meat scoops today because I forgot my plastic scoops. Luckily these work pretty well. Don't think of rocker boxes of any kind as sluice boxes. They're not. They do include a sluice run. That's where your gold is going to settle, but they operate differently. The rocking motion is the thing that agitates the soil and creates stratification. And that stratification sinks the gold to the very bottom, much the same as you would get if you were using a gold pan. So this is much more like a gold pan in terms of its behavior and its functionality than it is as a sluice box. Almost got through me bucket, but the most important thing is I'm starting to see little pieces of gold just before they go into the riffles. The Jarvie riffles on this rocker box, you know, these are a new invention that I saw come out of Dream Mat, and they have added this into most of their high bankers and their dredges and all sorts of stuff, and they work really well because they not only smooth the water out, but they let gravel pass through them as a secondary classifier plate, and it just creates a really interesting level of friction within the water, and they tend to catch a lot of gold compared to any of these more traditional styles where you got riffles or drop riffles or whatever it might be. These still obviously catch gold, but they're a little bit more finicky than what these are. And now it's just literally rinse and repeat. I'm going to keep getting buckets and keep processing. One of the things that I'm doing, which I encourage all prospectors to do, especially if you just started, is to make sure that you are following the gold. It's easy to get distracted by the fact that you might have found an okay spot right at the start. But no gold deposit lasts forever, and it's really important that you keep an eye on how much is in your pan and how much you're processing. Because there's no point doing all this work and classifying down all this rock if you're processing worthless dirt or low grade dirt. So what I do is when I tip my pan's worth of dirt into the bucket, I tip it out over the riffles. And then the little bit of dirt that's just left in the bottom, I grab some water, I swirl it around, I just check that there is still what I want to see in there, which is gold and black sand. It's by no means a hyper accurate result, but it does show you that the black sand and the gold that I was seeing in my test pans is still in the dirt that I'm processing. And we have yet another heavy mother rudder to drag over. The other thing that's going to happen to you is no matter what you use, no matter what pan or what sluice box, what metal detector, you're going to lose gold. So you got to do a little bit of due diligence, and that just means that you want to check your system by doing a test pan to see how much gold you're losing, because there's an acceptable rate. If you're only losing 5% of your gold, you're doing really well. But if you're losing 50% of the gold, either your technique or your equipment need to be changed. And you got to remember that all alluvial machines are designed to shed off black sand and retain the gold. The black sand is purely in your sluice box because it is heavy, and its secondary use is as a friction bed to keep the gold safe in your capture zone. So it's okay to see black sand in your tailings. It's meant to be there. You just don't want to see oodles and oodles of specks. I would honestly expect to see maybe 3 to 5 pieces of gold in a pan like this. I wouldn't be totally unsurprised. And we have literally none. We've got nice big coarse chunky bits of black sand shedding off, but we are not losing anything. So that is a great capture rate. I've switched sides just to see if I can make this work, because I wanted to be able to put my scoop in the water without having to cross over myself. If it doesn't work, I'll switch back. Yeah, I could probably make that work. One of the most common misconceptions I hear all the time on all gold prospecting forums is that the best gold is located on the bedrock. And for the most part, that doesn't make sense. Gold forms in layers. It actually takes quite a long time for alluvial stream gold to make it to the bedrock. That's why when you get to the bedrock, if it's been an untouched area for a long time, it will be good if you can reach it. Areas like this are considered to be deep lead. The bedrock is some 100 feet below our feet right now. And there are many places all across the world that have the same sort of topography where the bedrock is really deep, and what you're actually hunting for is a flood layer of gold sitting on something it couldn't permeate through, or it simply just hadn't sunk far enough to be out of reach yet, like a clay layer or hard packed gravel. Like in this case, how it's all just sitting literally on the surface, even though the bedrock is 100 feet deep. I'm trying to decide if I want to go up onto the gravel bar or if I just want to hug the edge of it. And this little test pan is kind of going to make that decision for me. It doesn't look very good. Almost no black sand and literally no gold. So we're not going up that way. That means that my gold, it hugs the edge of this gravel bar and comes all the way up to over here. Start recording.
Stop turning on my camera.
It's got a voice activated camera, so I turned it off on his intro. Halfway through it just said stop recording, and
This camera should only obey me and not him.
it's not how the machine gods work, my good sir. John Connor would be very disappointed in you. Now, there are a lot of people who watch my channel who live in other countries, primarily the US and Canada. And I just want to give you a life lesson. This is a Vegemite sandwich. If you are so unfortunate to meet an Australian and they offer you a Vegemite sandwich, don't do it. They're gonna screw with you. The key to getting a good Vegemite sandwich is good amount of butter, little bit of Vegemite, and you work in until you find your level where it gets disgusting, and then you back off a notch and it will be perfect. Don't trust Australians who offer you Vegemite sandwiches. We will screw with you for fun. The test pan I showed you at the start of the video was a little bit lackluster. It's not what I know to be on this bar. All of this section had pretty decent gold, between 20 and 50 flakes, but as we come up to this little tree here, I took a test pan from just here, and this is what I managed to get. You can be on a spot and you can know that there's good gold there, but once you find the actual pay streak, the spec count will go up exponentially, and that's what you got to keep an eye out for. Considering I'm able to get about 7 pans in every one of these buckets, I think we're in for a good payday. As I'm discovering where the pay streak is really sitting, I'm starting to see considerably more black sand just accumulate on this front lip here. The matting seems to be self-clearing really well, but we do have a couple of flakes of gold that have migrated down past the Jarvie riffle. That's to be expected when you start getting more gold per scoop. I've also sent Gadsy off on a mission downstream to find me some myrrh and the skins of a rare animal. I hope he comes back with one. We've done 3 buckets worth of classified dirt. That works out to be roughly about 6 to 8 buckets worth of concentrates if we take into account the big rock. And we have a lot of black sand and a lot of fine gold underneath the Jarvie plate. And in fact, most of our real fine gold is accumulating right at the very top here, straight off the slick plate. That's where all our gold's sitting, right on top of this clay. Unreal stuff. It's not overly rare to find clay like this on Reedy Creek or in many other creeks. It's just that the right conditions for it to have gold are rare, because this is what I'm getting when I just tip the pan straight into the bucket over the riffles. I'm still getting heaps and heaps of gold. I'm not even panning it down, I'm just tipping it into the bucket. Meaty, scoopy, bloopy. Oh, that's a nice flake. See, every now and again, you just see something real nice. I'm gonna assume that you're gonna go down here and hopefully get caught somewhere here. What exotic animals have you brought me, good sir?
None. No mer, no beasts of anything.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, your test has failed, my boy.
I'll never be a knight.
That's like my 4th or 5th bucket, I can't remember. And I just looked down and I can see a real nice piece just sitting in the Jarvie riffle right there. For Reedy Creek, that's almost a newspaper worthy bit. My pay streak seems to have come to an end. You know what they say about good things? They're few far in between and you're going to suffer to get them. There is still gold up on this gravel bar, but I basically started working here. I followed the pay streak up through this section here, all the way up to underneath this tree. It took me 7.5 buckets to do. And whilst there's a little bit of gold up here, and there's still a little bit of gold through the pay streak and on the edges and stuff, it's the difference between getting 100 specks a pan and getting 15 specks a pan. I'm better off hunting for a new deposit. 7.5 buckets, you can roughly double that by volume. That means that we did round about 15 buckets worth of soil. And that's because all of this is my waste rock. This is the rock that I classified out and got rid of. I didn't have to process it because it contains no gold. Reedy Creek gold's basically almost all under 3mm in size. So 15 buckets worth of soil have been moved today, but we've only processed about 7. I'm real happy to see some decent sized particles coming out in this wash. And now that I've taken my sunglasses off, I'm starting to see pieces of gold all through the carpet. Now, most of the particles were very, very fine. There was a lot of them, but they were quite small. So we're only going to see the big ones sitting up top here in the mat. But it's looking pretty good. I got heaps and heaps of specks right at the top here. I have a lot of plans for this system and some improvements that I'm going to make a much better version of it. This is basically my test version of what I want to be doing. And I'm thinking maybe if I can get the design right with my ideas, I'll be selling them on my website, The Old Moldy. If you don't know about The Old Moldy, it's my website where I sell a lot of handcrafted stuff, including my pay dirt, gemstones, gold, but also things like my beard combs, model rocker boxes, rings, necklace pendants, and all the money that's raised on that website goes directly back into supporting the channel. So check that out, as well as my Patreon, where we do giveaways every single month for things like pay dirt, gemstones, gold prospecting equipment. That costs as little as $1 to sign up to. And if I get my prototype rocker box developed properly, that's where I'll be selling it. But we can have a quick look in here and just see if we can find anything interesting. See if we get an idea of how much gold we got. I'd like to see more than 0.5 gram. I would really like 1 gram. I don't think we'll get that because the pay streak wasn't quite as big as I thought it was. And that's what we like to see, gold coming out of the bucket like that. You see the black sand's pretty damn thick and the gold's coming out on this edge. But when it's all said and done, this is the gold I managed to recover off our clay layer. It is so nice to be back in the center of Reedy Creek where all the really good gold is after 3 years of not being able to access it at all. All of this gold was found in an area that's typically not known for very good gold. and it indicates that the creek is completely reloaded. In fact, we've started to find spots that are giving us $10 of gold in every single pan, and we have several videos already filmed waiting to be published once we finish the spots completely, where we're pulling multiple grams a day using very basic techniques like panning. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, consider hitting the subscribe button. It's completely free. And to support all creators, not just my channel, sharing the videos and leaving a comment helps introduce our channels and our shows to new people. But for now, I have to get all of this gold on the scales. I really want to see a gram. I know the gold's a little bit dirty, so we're going to knock a little bit of weight off the total. Wow, we got 1.03, 1.06, which is pretty good, but it's kind of dirty, so I'm going to say we probably got maybe a 0.9, almost a gram out of 7 buckets. 0.9 of a gram of gold these days is worth almost $100. That's not too bad for 3 hours work and a prison-inspired rocker box.